This is Alice's Restaurant, done by Jeff Howell from the Monsters of the Midday on Real Radio 104.1.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jeff Howell.
Give me some guitar real quick.
Well, this here's a song called Alice's Restaurant. It's about Alice in the restaurant. But Alice's Restaurant is not the name of the restaurant, just the name of the song. And that's why we call this song here Alice's Restaurant. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. I said walk right in, it's around the back, just a half a mile from the railroad tracks. And you can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. Well, friends, it all started about 4 Thanksgivings ago. That was about 4 years ago on Thanksgiving, when me and my friend went down to see Alice, her husband Ray, and Facha the dog. Now, Alice doesn't live in the restaurant. She lives in a church nearby the restaurant, in the bell tower. And living in the bell tower like that, they got a lot of room downstairs where the pews used to be, seeing as how they took out all the pews. And having all that room, they decided that they didn't have to take their garbage out for an extra special long time. Well, having all that garbage, we decided it'd be a friendly gesture if we was to take that garbage down to the town dump. So we piled a half a ton of garbage in back of a red VW microbus, took shovels and rakes and implements of destruction, and headed off towards the town dump. Well, when we got there, there was a big sign on a chain across the road saying closed on Thanksgiving. And we had never heard of a dump being closed on Thanksgiving before. So with tears in our eyes, we drove off looking for another place to dump the garbage. Well, we didn't find one till we came to a side road, and off of the side road was a 15-foot cliff, and at the bottom of the cliff was another pile of garbage. And we decided that one big pile would be better than 2 little ones, and rather than bring that one up, we decided to throw our one down. That's what we did. Got back in the red VW microbus with the shovels and rakes and implements of destruction, went back to Alice's house, had a Thanksgiving dinner that couldn't be beat, went to sleep, and didn't get up until the next day when we got a phone call from an Officer Obie. He said, "Kid, I found your name on an envelope at the bottom of a half a ton of garbage. Just wanted to know if you had any information about it." I said, "Officer Obie, I cannot tell a lie. I put that envelope under all that garbage." Well, he didn't believe me and said we'd have to go down and pick up the garbage, but first we'd have to go down and meet him at the police officer station. So we got back in the red VW microbus, went down to the police officer station with the shovels and rakes and implements of destruction, and met Officer Obie, where we were both immediately arrested, handcuffed. I said, "Obie, how we gonna pick up the garbage with these handcuffs on?" He said, "Kid, shut up." Got in back to the patrol car and drove to the, quote, scene of the crime, unquote. Well, friends, let me tell you about the town of Stockbridge, Massachusetts, where all this was taking place. They got 3 police officers, 2 police cars, and 1 police dog. But when we got to the scene of the crime, there was 8 police officers, 5 police cars, and 3 police dogs, making this the biggest crime in the last 50 years. And they was using up all kind of cop equipment that they had hanging around the police officer station there. They was using fingerprints, handprints, helicopter shots, and dog-smelling prints. And friends, they were taking up all kind of pictures there. They were taking pictures. They took 27 8x10 color glossy photographs with circles and arrows and a paragraph on the back of each one, explaining what each one was to be used as evidence against us. Took pictures of the northwest corner, the southwest corner, the approach to the getaway, and that's not to mention the aerial photography. After that, Officer Obie let us go, and we went back in the red VW microbus with the shovels and rakes and implements of destruction, and headed to Alice's house, had another Thanksgiving dinner that couldn't be beat, went to sleep, and didn't get up until the next day when we had to go to court. Well, friends, we walked in, court sat down. Obie walked in, sat down. A judge came in with the CNI dog, and the dog sat down. A man came in and said, "All rise." We stood up. Obie stood up. The judge stood up. The dog stood up. And then everybody looked at the judge with the CNI dog. And then Obie looked back at his 27 8x10 color glossy photographs with the circles and a paragraph on back of each one, explaining what each one was to be used as evidence against us. Then looked back at the judge. Then looked back at the CNI dog. Then looked back at his 27 8x10 color glossy photographs with circles and arrows and a paragraph on back of each one, explaining what each one was to be used as evidence against us. And then started to cry. You see, friends, Obie came to the realization that this was a typical case of American blind justice, and that judge wasn't going to be able to look at his 27 8x10 color glossy photographs with circles and arrows and a paragraph on back of each one, explaining what each one was to be used as evidence against us. But we had to pay $50 and pick up the garbage anyway. But friends, that's not what I'm here to talk to you about. I'm here to talk to you about the draft. They got a building down in New York City on Whitehall Street where you go in, you get inspected, injected, infected, neglected, detected, and selected. Well, I walked in there one day. I got good and drunk the night before so I could look and feel my best for the draft inspection the next day. And I walked in there, and a man came in with a piece of paper and said, "Kid, have you ever been arrested?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Kid, what were you arrested for?" And I said, "I was arrested for littering." And all the people moved away from me on the bench. Till I said, "In creating a nuisance," and they all came back and shook my hand. We had a great time sitting there with the mother rapers and the father stabbers and the father rapers and all of them, sitting there shaking my hands and hitting me on the back talking about father raping and mother stabbing and all that kind of good stuff. Till finally a sergeant came in and said, "Kid, I want you to go see the psychiatrist down the hall." I said, "Why do you want me to go see the psychiatrist?" He said, "Kid, we want to see if you're fit enough to join the Army." I said, "Excuse me, sir. You mean you want me to go down the hall to find out if I'm mental enough to join the Army, fit enough mentally to join the Army, burn women, kids, houses, children, villages, after being a litter bug?" He said, "Kid, we don't like your kind. We're going to send you to Group W." And friends, I went down to the Group W bench, and there were all the meanest mother stabbers, father rapers in the world sitting there. And they all handed us out a piece of paper. Sergeant came in and said, "Kid, I want you to fill out in 47 words, 47 sentences, talk about the crime time, the arresting officer's name, the jurisdiction court you was arrested in, and all about the crime time and everybody, bringing up the people and the dog and everything, and talk for 45 minutes, and none of us understood a single word that he said, but we had fun filling out the forms and playing with the pencils on the bench. So after that, I went down, and the guy looked at me, and he said, "Kid, we don't like your kind. We're going to put your name on a 8x10 color glossy photograph and send it down to Washington." And friends, somewhere in Washington, there's a 8x10 dossier with my name and my picture on it. And the only reason I'm singing you this song is you might be in this position, or you might know somebody in this position. And if you are, there's only one thing that you can do. You can go in there singing this song of Alice's Restaurant and walk right out. And friends, they might think you're crazy and they might not take you. Or you can get a friend and go in there and sing Alice's Restaurant, the two of you, in two-part harmony. And they might think you're both fags and won't take either of you. Or friends, you could go in there with 3 people. Imagine 3 people movement. But imagine 50 people. 50 people going in, singing a bar of Alice's Restaurant and walking out. And friends, they're going to know it's a movement. We'll just wait for it to come around on the guitar now. Help me out. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. Except in Alice, you can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. I said, walk right in, it's around the back, and just half a mile from the railroad tracks. And you can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. Thank you very much.
There you go. Yeah. He did a 1 hour song in about 20 minutes.